this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
You're listening to a podcast, so you're doing something else too, like maybe scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving places you like without thinking you'll get them, because that's what house hunting has become. But Redfin isn't built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, which means when you find a place you love, you've got a real shot at getting it. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Kids, pets, life, your sofa sees it all. But with a washable sofa, stains don't stand a chance. All of our sofa collections come with fully machine washable covers and cushions, making cleanup effortless. Liquid and stain-resistant fabrics provide extra protection against everyday messes. Plus, with modular designs, you can rearrange your sofa however you like. Perfect for growing families and changing spaces. Starting at just $699, it's time to upgrade to a stress-free, mess-proof sofa. Visit washablesofas.com today and save. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
It's Behind the Bastards, the podcast where I talk about my sleeping habits and Miles talks about his baby. How you doing, Miles?
I just started recording, but yeah, I'm great. So yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's been too long. I was wondering.
It has been too long because
when I would be
selfish baby.
Again. Yeah, I know. Well, now that guy's out of my way and out of the, got that obstacle out of, or my career obstacle out of the way, I'm back, baby.
He hit 6 months and you're just like locked in now. It's like done. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're old enough. Find a life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like sit in this cardboard box with some of my old Ninja Turtle toys and like a AirPod playing or whatever, call it a HomePod playing and you're good.
Yeah. Miles, how do you feel about airplanes?
Robert.
I mean, I like, as a kid, I like going on airplanes, but you never know when you're on those things. You never know. That's my feeling on them.
You never know, like sometimes you get tricked and realize you're on a plane only belatedly. You're like, wow, what an odd, very long house with strange windows. And
I'm always just thinking they're going to crash.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think that happens with planes anymore.
Yeah, not as much, but I think I've seen too many like 80s movies that had like plane crashes in them that like I'll get on and then like when I look at the other passengers on, like music starts playing in my head and I'm like, these are the people that lost their lives on this flight.
Yeah, I think the thing that I find unsettling is less like, because planes are pretty statistically safe, except for every now and then, like maybe that Malaysian pilot or those guys in France, you get like a pilot who just decides to end it all and take everyone with him. And I find that slightly unsettling.
You got to trust them. You got to trust them.
You got to trust them. And pilots are the kind of people who become pilots. If you've ever known a pilot, oh boy, that's not a trustworthy breed right there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is an no, I feel nothing for pilots one way or the other. So
I feel nothing when I look at you.
The one person I know that's a pilot, yes, that does. I was like, yeah, okay, or maybe it is a thing.
Well,
I believe
now that I think about it, yeah, I know somebody who has a pilot's license, and they're kind of like more like a pirate than a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
but yeah, I get the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Miles, flying outside of the occasional largely irrational fear of death, has become both safe and also deeply unpleasant. Like, it sucks. Like, I think for most people, if you have to get on a plane to go somewhere, the getting on the plane part is pretty thoroughly an unpleasant process, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like, yeah, and it sucks, like, comprehensively. Like, it's not just that, like, being on a plane sucks because you're crammed in with all these people and, like, yeah, it's just this physically unpleasant.
Also, I fucking hate, though, now how basically they want to make seats as uncomfortable as fucking possible. Mm-hmm. So you're like, well, we have economy plus, yeah, economy plus cubed, business first, diamond, and you're like, what the fuck? Can I just have like just slightly more room because I'm over 6 feet tall? Like, just please,
they
something
also
like that.
Have the thing now where like they have the you can pay less, but you don't get to pick your seat.
Yeah,
that used to like. That didn't used
to just be the way that planes worked. Yeah.
Everything's a fucking add-on now.
It's good that we're talking about this because today we're talking about the guy who made it that way, right?
Well,
we're talking about the dude who made all of that be a factor in flying, who like turned it from a process where you just bought a ticket to go to a place and you were treated like a human being to this bizarre, weird capitalist nightmare where you've got like 11 different options and all of them suck way more than being on a fucking train. That's who we're talking about. His name is Frank Lorenzo, and he made planes suck. Yeah, he's a fun little monster today, getting some capitalism, bad guy here. So
I like this. Okay, so good. I don't have to deal with too much. I can just deal with my own frustrations that are based off of being on a plane rather than something deeply, horrifically fucked up like every other time.
Yeah, I mean, it's fucked up in that he's like your normal sort. He's like your uber capitalist kind of asshole. But it's also this thing where like the whole airline industry, like all of the pilots and ground crews and stewardesses and stuff who have been working in it for a while, like blame this guy for everything that sucks with air travel. And some of the things they blame him for are like things that they kind of did. Like it's not, it's not all on him. But yeah, it's an interesting story. And it's pretty bastardy. So that's what we're going to talk about this week. We're going to talk about Frank fucking Lorenzo. So Francisco Anthony Lorenzo was born on May 29th, 1940 in New York City, the Windy Apple. He was the third of three sons, and his parents were named Olegario and Anna Lorenzo. Everything's fine with his name except for the Anthony as a middle name. I don't trust people with an Anthony right in the middle of their name. Anthony's a first name. Could be a last name. It shouldn't be a middle name.
Wait, why do you still feel so fucking strongly about what a middle name is?
I don't think it's right as a middle name.
Why are you being so conspiratorial today?
What do you mean?
I think, no, it's an interesting, we're gaining perspective into Robert's mind. Like, because I feel like 70% of like Catholic men's middle name is Anthony.
Yeah, well, I don't trust the Papists, Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Their loyalty is
for
to
you,
the
it's an
Pope,
anti-Catholic
Miles.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What is a good middle name?
Like, Tiddly Bop. Anyway, okay, so I forgot all the middle names. So his dad ran a beauty salon and his mom worked at the beauty salon, and they were like pretty comfortable. Like, they're not rich, but they're pretty solidly middle class. They're doing well enough that his dad is able to play the stock market as a hobby. He's not like, fucking printing paper, but he's got a portfolio that's worth like 120 grand by the time he dies, which, you're talking like the 70s, the 80s. That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's like he's doing pretty good. Yeah. So one of the things that Olegario teaches his son about is the concept of risk. And when we say risk in this context, we mean gambling, right? Like when money people talk about risk, they're talking about like whether or not you have a good shot of like, winning when you throw your dice at that roulette wheel or whatever. Frank was pretty good at this from the beginning. He showed an aptitude for numbers, and he was really fascinated specifically with how he could fuck around with numbers in order to make money. When he was in junior high school, he ran the school betting pool on the World Series, which was illegal at the time. But what are you, a cop? Come on.
Yeah.
So
wait, wow. So he was running just taking bets on the fucking World Series.
Yeah, he's taking bets on the World Series.
Whimsical times.
Yeah. Good stuff. The single most enduring memory Frank had of his childhood was of the family apartment, which sat right under the approach for LaGuardia Airport. As a little kid, he'd spend hours watching the different planes from various airlines land. Now, this is a period in which flying is pretty new, right? Like if you're watching planes fly overhead in like the 50s and 60s, we've been doing that, about as long as today Paul Rudd has been alive, right? Like that's what you got to think. If you're watching like planes in the 60s, like planes as a concept are about as old as Paul Rudd is to us.
How old? Wait, and when we say Paul Rudd, what are we dating that from? His birth or his entrance into our sort of pop culture consciousness?
Yeah, I would say from his birth, but like either way, I don't remember a time without Paul Rudd. Do you?
I mean, for me, I think Clueless is the punctuation point. That is the point where that's the Big Bang, I would say, for Paul Rudd. Yeah,
that's the Big Bang for Paul Rudd.
For me, at least for me. Yeah.
Yeah, the Permian explosion.
Yeah, exactly. We still feel the gravitational waves of that movie, from when Paul Rudd came on the scene.
Yeah. So he's watching the planes fly overhead. He doesn't know yet about the movie Clueless because it's the 60s, but one day he presumably will watch it. So by the time Frank is making memories, man had only been taking commercial international trips for about 25 years. There was still a magic to air travel then, and it was only slightly dimmed by all of the people who'd gotten incinerated from the sky during World War II. Airlines in those days were run by the same kinds of guys who'd helped invent air travel as like a thing. So these dudes, like airline CEOs today are just like any kind of CEO, right? But back in the day, airline CEOs were all former pilots who'd like been test pilots. They'd like flown in wars, and they were often crazy people, right? Like that was just the kind of person who could get these jobs. A representative example of the pack was Robert Foreman Six, the CEO of Continental Airlines, which was the most prestigious airline in the country during Frank's childhood. Six became the CEO of that company in 1936 and held the job until 1980, by which point he was like senile and the company was failing because he didn't know how to do anything anymore. He had dropped out of high school at 17 and gotten fired from his sales job for taking flying lessons on company time. He'd received his flying license at 22 and become an air racer. And he got like rich during World War II because he used all of his airline's planes to take U.S. troops to Europe for the Army Air Corps. Like that was just a thing the big airlines did, is they were like, I guess we're having a war. Everybody like take your
all aboard.
Yeah, it's like it's like if we were like diverting 737s to Ukraine so we could like kick explosives out of the back hatch.
I mean, why not? Yeah. With JetBlue, that's when you see Spirit Airlines flying overhead.
Yeah. After the war, he got rich, particularly because like he was the dude who started inviting celebrities to take like, trips on his planes to, vacation destinations or to Europe. Like the idea of the jet set is created in part by like Robert Six. Like that's the dude he is. He makes flying sexy. He also beat the absolute hell out of his wife and kids, but like that kind of goes without saying, right?
The different time.
Rich maniac in this period of time. Yeah, probably.
Holy shit.
Not great.
So you're saying that whole, like, I know, like, there are these places in LA where it's like the inside of an old airplane where people can pretend it's like the glamorous air travel time. That's all because of this.
Yes. Bobby Six is the dude who like creates that cultural touchstone or helps to.
And then became a decrepit monkey skeleton in his latter years. Okay.
Yeah. For some reason, a lot of guys have trouble giving up power and influence, Miles. Wild stuff. Thankfully, our generation will never know anything about that.
No.
So then there was Edward Vernon Rickenbacker, who, man, that is a pilot name. That's a hell of a pilot name.
That's obviously a good pilot. Is Vernon? How about Vernon as a middle name?
I'm fine with Vernon. Vernon's a fine middle name. A little old-timey, but yeah, it works for me.
It's no tiddly bop, though.
Yeah, no tiddly bop, sorry. So obviously, Edward Vernon Rickenbacker, that's a World War I fighter pilot. And he was, in fact, a World War I fighter pilot. He wins a Medal of Honor. He's actually the most decorated U.S. flying ace of the war. And as a side hobby, is a race car driver. Because, like, why wouldn't you be the coolest dude you could possibly be?
It wasn't enough shooting krauts out of the sky.
Yeah. No, every now and then, if he saw one by the edge of the track, he'd just like run him over, you know?
Yeah,
hit a
right.
German. So, blonde hair, let's...
Schmidt,
he was
huh? That's
born in
your, first
Ohio,
name. That's
like
your
most great
family name, huh?
pilots. Yeah,
Oh,
got to get the fuck out of that state. And his penchant for daredevilry mainly came from the fact that he was like the least lucky person on the planet. As a toddler, he was hit by a streetcar and knocked 12 feet down into an open sewer. His brother twice had to save him after he was hit by passing coal cars as a little kid. One time his school caught on fire and he nearly died trying to save his coat from the building. So yeah, like this
Honestly,
dude just...
Sounds like a really normal. When was he born?
In like, I don't know, late 1800s, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like a very normal childhood, I think, back then. It's like, everyone was fucking ran over into an open fucking sewer as a baby.
Yeah, he's just like constantly like getting maimed and beaten, and it's like, I guess the sky couldn't be worse, right? Like, German bullets aren't more dangerous than the street in 1913.
It's so It is just such a different time because, like, you look at those old pictures of like what jungle gyms used to look like for kids, like in the fucking 20s, and it was
just
like
a gun on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a knife pit with like a bunch of poles that were like 25 feet high with like handles and shit on it, so kids could just sit on top and break their fucking necks.
Yeah. If they die, they die. So after the war, he founded a motor company, and this motor company went very quickly bankrupt. But he was famous because he'd been such a good fighter pilot, so he was still able to create another company. This one was an airline called Florida Airways, which collapsed because would you fly on Florida Airways? Like, absolutely not. No.
It sounds like you're going to get robbed. Like, they're like, you idiot. You really thought this was a fucking airline? Give us your fucking money now.
You're going to get robbed, and you're going to have to sit next to the guy until it lands in Sarasota, right? Like,
no, there's no flight, Robert. There's no flight. Florida Air, that's a euphemism. It's a code word for a fucking like armed robbery ring.
Come on, Florida.
Oh yeah, he's flying Florida Airways now.
Yeah. Oh, looks like you got 2 first-class tickets to Florida Airways. What?
So Florida Airways also collapses.
Like, that's not real. That has to be a fake name.
No, that's the real that's the real name, and it becomes the foundation of a lot of modern air travel because he takes Florida Airways while it's failing. And again, largely because he's just got so much famous guy clout, he's able to merge it with Eastern Air Transport to create Eastern Airlines, which becomes one of the titans of the first big age of air travel. He also was a cartoonist, weirdly enough. Basically, if you wanted to do it as a job when you were 9, this guy lived it. He was in every way a cooler dude than the subject of our episode, Frank Lorenzo. I used
to be a flagpole sitter, too.
So by the time our boy Frank was in his late teens, his family was doing well enough that his father sent him to a super fancy rich kid school, Forest Hills High in Queens. In his description of Forest Hills, Lorenzo emphasizes what a fish out of water he was. He's this blue-collar Spanish kid in a school filled with white-collar Jewish kids. But, like, his dad's, like, playing the market as a hobby and as a business owner, so he's not that blue-collar. Like, he overemphasizes it. There's a little bit of, like, I don't know, Jewish panic type deal where he's like, well, compared to all of these Jewish kids, I was real commoner. Stuff.
Right,
it's like, come on, man.
Easy.
Chill out, Frank. So
hold the fuck up.
It does sound like it was an insufferable school because, again, everybody there is pretty rich. One of his classmates was John Vinicure, who went on to edit Paris's International Herald Tribune. Simon and Garfunkel were 1 year below him. I wish there was something more interesting about that, but like that's the only fact I found about it. The one real warning sign Frank exhibited in this point is that he volunteered to work as a hall monitor, which is
you fucking cop.
No, absolutely not. That's I found unacceptable.
I found out my partner, Her Majesty, was like a hall monitor. Like when I found that out, I thought I had like an existential crisis almost where I was like, what the like you're a cop.
Yeah.
And you wanted to do that? It's like, yeah, and you got to wear the sash and shit. I'm like, this is fucked up.
Yeah, that's bleak. I feel like hall monitors, Yeah, it's like the DEA for not wanting to be in math class. Fucked up stuff.
Right. It's ROTC for, baby cops.
I mean, you don't actually get to do anything in ROTC except look like a piece of shit in that stupid uniform.
You get to wear it, though, and fucking salute the flag, honor the flag, man.
Hell of a lot of fucking saluting the flag. Jesus Christ. So
did the ROTC kids, I had ROTC kids in my school that were basically doing stolen valor, like wearing medals and shit, like on a weird jacket as they put the flag up. I was like, is this?
Oh man, they got in our ROTC, we got swords. We got swords for a while, and then one of the kids drew his to attack some other kids, and then they were like, I guess we can't have them all wearing swords anymore.
I mean,
were they super sharp?
No, I mean they were like swords, but they were like parade swords,
ceremonial.
So they had not been sharpened.
Okay.
But it was still a sword.
Yeah.
That was obviously how that was going to go.
Yeah, of course that's how that was going to go. And it made me just think that everyone at school should have to wear a full saber at all times. But that's a separate belief. So
honestly, I joined ROTC for the sword. Like if I heard this, like, yo, you get a sword.
A lot of people did. A lot of people did, Miles.
I'm doing it for the sword. Do it for the sword, y'all.
Do it for the sword. So at this point, his life goal, Frank's life goal, was to study engineering when he went off to college. He graduated in the late 50s and was accepted to Columbia University. And this write-up from Texas Monthly describes his time in college pretty well. The making of Frank Lorenzo seems to have begun at Columbia University, where he graduated in 1961 and later endowed a scholarship in his father's name. He was well known there amid the 2,000 students. He joined the top fraternity, Sigma Chi, and served in student government as secretary-treasurer of the undergraduate dormitory council.
That was the worst fraternity at my college. They
Sigma Chi?
They got removed for doing bad shit.
Oh yeah,
They're dope,
just wait,
dude.
Sophie. He's a piece of shit in this school.
All right, cool.
Former classmates use words like glib and slick to describe him. He tended to skate close to the edge, recalls classmate David C. Furman. Lorenzo's college nickname around his flat, Frankie Smooth Talk. The moniker seemed particularly well suited in light of.
You're just making shit up right now. I can't.
No, he was Frankie Smooth Talk. So, and so the thing that he fucking does in college that's so funny is he's in this campus political organization that's linked to all of the Christian fraternities like Sigma Chi to try to make sure that the Christian fraternities get a bunch of student officers, and they're specifically they're opposed. It's not like a left versus right thing. The Christian fraternities are fighting the Jewish fraternities. So first off,
oh my God,
you could guess there's some problematic shit being said in the background.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So, yeah, he's basically he's their Roger Stone. And the night before the final day of balloting for seats on the student governing board, Lorenzo meets with a bunch of other these Christian frat guys in a dorm room to discuss, quote, the possibility of voting twice. So he and all of these other guys make a list of students who probably wouldn't vote and then go vote illegally in their names to rig the election. So he's the Roger Stone, or at least the E. Howard Hunt, it's shady kind of bigoted college politics.
Wow, what an entryway.
Mm-hmm.
It's we had to dilute the Jewish vote by doing some voter fraud. What?
Yeah,
he's I got this shareholder meeting covered. What?
I feel like I'm going to get. I feel like I can guarantee you they didn't say we're going to beat the Jewish frats. They used a different word.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was doing the safe for kids version.
The polite version. Yeah. No, these guys are definitely a slur-heavy frat.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I find really funny is that Lorenzo's. He's like their Roger Stone, but he's terrible at committing crimes. So he is the only member of this conspiracy who gets caught voting twice. The student paper reported, at first he denied everything and claimed that he had tried it as a stunt to test the election commission to see if anyone could actually get away with voting twice. So he actually does the whole, I was just testing to make sure that you guys had good security.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
That's like this shit that the fucking guys on To Catch a Predator say.
Yeah.
When they get caught, they're like, I was here to warn the kid about what can happen when you talk to people on the internet.
Yeah.
That's why I came. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
right.
he does that. Guys, you know who else engages in no, we shouldn't say that. Sophie, how do we, let's just pull the ads right now.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabay Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anabay brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquid simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Oh, all right. And we are back. We're back and we're talking about our buddy Frank Lorenzo, the Roger Stone of anti-Semitic college election shit. So the newspaper continues that story after he pretended to be testing the election system. Lorenzo soon cracked under the pressure of the board's questioning and admitted to voting twice. He and 5 others were banned from ever voting again in a Columbia election. So he is a school politics felon. He's permanently lost his right to vote at Columbia University. It's funny. Now, this was before culture war politics had become as monetizable as they are today. Like, I think there's, if this kid is going to school in the present, he never becomes a business guy. He like joins Turning Point USA straight out of college and tries to milk this for forever.
100%. Yeah, he has a podcast on Daily Wire.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Lorenzo, because the campus press doesn't have much to focus on, Lorenzo kind of becomes their Nixon for a while. When classes start back up in the fall, the paper starts a campaign to make him resign from his position on the dorm room council based due to his, quote, lack of any semblance of self-respect and honor. Now,
that's the best way to insult someone.
Especially because it's like, you're on the dorm room council. Now, I never went to Columbia, but I did briefly live in a dorm. in college before I dropped out. And the only thing I know about our dorm room officers is that I bought liquor from them when I was 18. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
they were selling you like diluted drugs, basically. But I love that even for the bar to be basically subterranean, that they would still say,
yeah,
you're just lack of, what did he say? What was it? Self-respect.
Lack of any
honor?
semblance of self-respect and honor. Oh, it's so funny. So Lorenzo eventually decides to resign, and he writes a public letter announcing that he's giving up his job, but he doesn't give a specific reason for why he quit. He just says, the political events of the past semester make my resignation mandatory. So you can see just kind of instinctively, like this dude has what it, is going to have what it takes to succeed in business or politics. Now,
totally.
From the available information, it kind of seems like the rest of his time in school goes by without anything a podcast about shitty people can make content out of, at least. Over the time he was there, Frank's interest veered from engineering and towards economics, a clear sign that he was going to be a shitty person. He also started reading biographies of various famous business tycoons, like Andrew Carnegie, who once sent an army of Pinkerton detectives to launch a seaborne invasion of a mill occupied by striking workers, which sparked a massive gun battle, like a 12-hour gun battle that ended with strikers hucking dynamite into the Pinkerton boats and rolling a flaming train car at the barges in the river to break the beachhead. Now, we can assume that when he read about this, Frank made a note of how violence with nothing but money behind it didn't work for Carnegie. It was only once he got the government on his side that he was able to crush the strike. And this is a thing that Frank's going to make a note of, right? That, like, you can't just have guys with guns go in to break up strikers, because there's always going to be more strikers than you have guys with guns. You got to get the feds on your back because they always have the most guns.
Yeah, and the best toys.
And the best toys, for sure. Yeah. Now, while he was a frat boy, Frank was not wealthy enough for his parents to pay his tuition. He had to work odd jobs throughout school, selling ties at Macy's and at one point driving a Coca-Cola truck, which required him to join the Teamsters Union. If he ever commented on the pay and benefits he received due to his union membership, we have no record of it. But he does have to spend some time as a union man, which will be relevant in a little bit. Once he graduated from Columbia, Frank applied to Harvard Business School, where he wanted to get an MBA. He was a member of the generation of young business executives who had become what were called corporate raiders in the 70s and 80s, right? We've talked about this in our Jack Welch episodes. This kind of period, this transitionary period from like the 60s to the 70s is sort of the birth of the ideas that we now just see as like how capitalism works, that like...
Yeah, and private equity.
Yeah, private equity, a company's only responsibility is to his shareholders, like, strip mine resources for short-term profits, lay people off to jig the stock price up so you guys can get money.
People died because the business became so poorly run because we were extracting all the money out of it? Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, that is kind of the era, at least, that he's going to Harvard in, is like the guys who are going to preside over that transition in capitalism are all kind of in school at the same time.
Yeah, the guys who are voting twice in college elections are not figuring out how to set up an intricate system of shell companies to be able to dodge any kind of legal liability when people die.
Yeah, exactly. What else? You don't want to not dodge legal liability when people die, Miles. Think you want to be like that genius CEO of OceanGate, Stockton Rush. Dodge all liability by imploding.
Yeah.
Doesn't
the Stockton, I feel like whenever I hear that name, it sounds like a fucking arena football team.
The Stockton Rushers.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck?
The Stockton Rushers. I don't know. There's a Fort Stockton, so yeah. You guys, you could like pivot off this, Take advantage of the SEO opportunity.
Make some weird joke football jerseys.
So where Lorenzo really shined is at social organizations at Harvard. He doesn't love the classes, he does well, but like he kind of comes out of Harvard being like, well, that was more or less for the name, right? Like to be able to say like I graduated from Harvard. But he does do well running the Harvard Cafeteria Newsstand, which is the only store on the business school campus. He apparently makes bank doing this. So
holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, might as well start with grifting other Harvard kids. His first job after graduation was at TWA, an airline that at the time was headed by Floyd Hall. Like the other airline CEOs we'd talked about, Hall was a two-fisted Army pilot who'd fought in World War II and then worked for the airline as a pilot before becoming CEO. Floyd got hired away to Eastern Airlines right as Lorenzo started working at TWA, which signified like a new era of management. Like Floyd kind of leaves TWA and gets replaced by a dude who's not a pilot, not a war hero. And it's kind of part of this transition where Americans are starting to see airlines not as like these kind of symbols of progress and American greatness, but as like, assets to be mined for profit, right? It's the business is becoming more of a normal business. It's losing its kind of prestige. And I'm going to quote from Texas Monthly again. As a manager of financial analysis, Lorenzo distinguished himself as a man who could push past details to the heart of the matter, but he was too ambitious to patiently work his way up the corporate ladder. A year later, at 26, he resigned to go into business with a soft-spoken Harvard classmate from New England, Bob Carney, who worked for two New York investment houses. The two formed Lorenzo Carney and Company, although the company at the time was a secretary. "We thought we could make some money in airlines," Carney recalls. "We had an entrepreneurial urge." Each partner put up $1,000. Lorenzo Carney was essentially a consulting firm in search of investment opportunities. So they don't really have like a plan for what their business is going to do. They just like start a business and like, if we can just get an airline to pay us for something, we'll figure it out. So they try a few things. They struggle to get a start like leasing out planes and shit, but they're not able to actually like make a profit. So they spin off from this business that doesn't work to yet another business, Jet Capital Corporation. And somehow it's kind of unclear to me exactly how this works, but like they start a company and just sort of like start going around to investors with money in 1969 and going like, "Isn't it a cool name, Jet Capital Corporation? Can we have some money?" Yeah.
I really want to get in on this. I wonder, was this like the internet kind of where enough people kind of knew, but probably just weren't savvy enough to be like, they're pretty confident, and they're called Jet Capital Corporation. Yeah,
it's kind of one of those things, right?
Yeah.
And so they get $1.4 million, and they don't have really much of a business plan, but they don't need one. And as soon as they get this pile of money, Frank, there's some other stuff. They are doing some consulting, but Frank pretty immediately is like, that's all small potatoes. What I want to do is I want to like take this money and use it as a basis to get more money so we can just purchase an airline. Now, basically, as he's kind of like talking this up, he's going around, he's going to parties, he's able to like make friends with some guys from Chase Manhattan Bank. And these dudes are eventually like, "Hey guys, we have this boutique airline in Texas that's doing really shitty. Like, if we can help you guys put some money together, you can buy this airline and try to rescue it and make a bunch of money." And it's here that I should probably pause to explain how fucking airlines work in this period of time, because it's weird. Flying, again, like, 1918 is kind of when it first becomes a business in the United States, because that's the year the post office starts doing airmail routes. And airmail is like the first big business that like planes are involved in the country. U.S. Army pilots are all of like the people actually flying the routes, and they established this national system of runways and airfields that kind of, this is what eventually turns into the airports that are all over the country. It all starts as like post office airmail, like landing strips and shit. This is all supported by something called the 1925 Contract Airmail App. This gives the post office the right to award routes to private carriers, which kind of creates the private industry for flying and shit. So the years that follow this are this kind of messy slurry of these new airlines fighting for routes and the government struggling to like make sure there's places for them to land. It's really messy, but all four of the major airlines that dominate the sky today, which are like United, American, Transworld, and Eastern, originate from this period, right? Like, these are the guys that all of our modern airlines are basically, the big ones at least, are basically directly or kind of indirectly descended from.
Right, come off this tree.
Yeah, exactly. So passenger service, you're not like flying people, right? Because planes are terrifying death traps. Like, they can barely take letters places. But this starts to change by the late 30s under the watchful eye of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who is like, a modern dude, but also pretty bullish on regulation. So under Roosevelt in 1938, Congress passes the Civil Aeronautics Act, which gives regulatory authority over air travel to something called the Civil Aviation Authority. And so the Civil Aviation Authority quickly gets a better acronym called CAB, because they changed their name to the Civil Aeronautics Board. And this is like the precursor to the FAA, right? CAB is like what we have before the FAA. But while today the FAA basically it seems like their job is mostly to make sure people continue to not die from passenger flights, CAB has another role, which is to make sure that there's not competition in the air travel business, right? Like it's kind of this, it's very alien to modern Americans because the government's like, all right, we're going to have planes. This is going to be a business, but we don't want them competing, right? If planes compete, if like airlines are competing, then like a bunch of ugly shit's going to happen. They'll be like fighting for the bottom in order to be like the cheapest carrier. And like, we don't want it to work that way, right? Like that doesn't seem like a good way for planes to work.
What the fuck kind of parallel reality is this?
Yeah, it's really strange. It's just like such a different attitude towards all. And part of it's because like the business is so new, right? There's like a bunch of government subsidies. Like if you're doing certain routes or like you will get money per flight from the government too, to kind of help. Because there's this understanding that like, well, just kind of naturally, like a lot of shit's not going to make sense financially, like flying to a bunch of different states and shit. There's just not going to be enough business for it to make sense. So we want to establish a network of flights and airlines. And the only way to do that is if the government kind of helps these companies out. But if we're going to help them out, they shouldn't just be, making as much money as possible, right? Like there should, we need to put in some limitations. So that like it doesn't get as messy as other things have gotten. I think they're kind of looking at how all the nasty shit that happens with like trains during like the late 1800s and going, well, we want to avoid some of that. So
cut to
today. So things are good for a while. You get your Second World War, which means that suddenly there's a lot of money going into growing the airline fleet. A lot of it gets pressed into military service. And then when the war ends, there's all these pilots, these guys who just like got trained up for free by the government. And then suddenly like nobody's paying them to incinerate cities in Asia or Europe. And then they're like, well, I guess we should find something else to do.
All right. Well, can I still get drunk while I do it? Yeah. That's
absolutely. Fine. No one said you can't be drunk.
You're just flying suits now. Oh, okay. All right.
For sure, man. Pour me a martini. Let's go. So because CAB was fundamentally pretty anti-competitive, it works out this system with all of the major airlines. So there's kind of two like types of airlines. There's little ones where you're just kind of flying within a state. And the little airlines, they're a lot less regulated, right? The pilots aren't considered to be the same quality of pilots, but it means that like little airlines can do shit like offer discounted tickets and whatnot, all this shit that's going to become like standard. Whereas big airlines aren't allowed to do this, right? If you're flying interstate and international routes, you just have to kind of like offer one kind of ticket for a flight. Which makes everything simple. Like when you're booking a plane, you're just like, well, yeah, I just want like a ticket, to fucking Sarasota or whatever. But it also means the system is horribly inefficient because since the big airlines are just kind of offering one ticket price, for each flight, this makes it simple, but it means that like if a flight lifts off for like, if like, it's about to be fly day and there's only 30% of the seats on the plane have been filled, they can't start offering like cheap seats to try to fill it up. So it's horribly inefficient. And this is a big part of why you get every so often these like people posting pictures of old planes being like, wow, flying used to be so nice. Why can't it be that way again? Well, like part of why flying was so nice is that barely anyone was ever on planes, right? Like, it was a lot nicer when nobody was on them because people suck.
Yeah, they're just like we have 14 seats, and it looks like a living room.
Yeah, there are 5 rich dudes on board. Everybody is completely hammered. Like instead of getting a single ginger ale, you get like a handle of gin and a Cuban cigar. You know, it was nice.
Right. It's like, do you have seat belts? They're like, what are you, a priest? Here, take this. This is laudanum. Take all the laudanum you want.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this?
Our pilot made some bathtub heroin. Everybody chill out. It's going to be choppy. No, so a big part of like why flying is nice is that like most people are not able to do it. In 1965, which is when Frank gets hired by TSA, only about 20%, a little less, of the US population had ever been on an aircraft, right? So in 65, less than 20% of the country's ever even been on a plane. By the year 2000, half of the US population flies at least once a year. So,
right. Wow.
And basically everyone who gets to adulthood is on a plane at least once, right? Very rarely.
Sure.
It's just like life now. So the other thing that's happening, right, as the 70s dawn, is this generation of MBAs who are Lorenzo's peers are all starting to reach high positions in their field. So a lot of these guys are, again, the first of what we now call corporate raiders. The best touchstone of this, if you watch the movie Hook, that's who Robin Wilson's character is supposed to be, right? Like he's this...
Who's Robin Wilson?
Oh, not Robin Wilson. Jesus Christ.
Robin Williams?
Robin Williams. I didn't sleep last night. Robin Williams is supposed to be a corporate raider, right? Like he's he's like this guy whose job is to buy up companies and then like strip them for assets. You know, he's a pirate, right? Like that's the point of So to give you an idea of the kind of men that Lorenzo called colleagues and what they're doing to the rest of American capitalism in this period of time, I want to read a quote from a summary of the book Corporate Raiders and Their Minions by John Ware Close. Quote, "The raiders who Close describes are colorful, to say the least. Among them, there's Robert Campu, who sought to maintain his youth with injections of fetal lamb brain cells, and whose blitzkrieg across the department store sector of the North American economy ended with the bankruptcy of Federated Department Stores in 1990. Carl Icahn, who supposedly said, 'If you want love, buy a dog,' and gutted TWA. And Robert Maxwell, who overpaid for Macmillan, contributing to the collapse of his media empire and leading to his suicide by sea. Thanks to these characters, companies can't coast anymore." Close likens the Raiders' effect to the West Indian slave revolts in the 1800s, saying, "The new M&A transformed public corporations, the establishment's repositories of power and wealth, into very public, very visible, very vulnerable sugar plantations, open to all with the will, the intelligence, and sometimes the personality disorders needed to gain entry. The corporate raiders," explains Close, "are also the ancestors of today's shareholder activists. They don't buy underperforming companies. They buy into them and force their managers to up their game." So they're all crazy assholes, right? Like that's who gets these jobs.
Fetal
Psychos.
lamb brain cell injections?
Hell yes.
Is like some fucking Peter Thiel shit. Like, what the fuck is this?
When you read about these guys, it does make it clear that like, a huge part of like the massive PR blitz to make the tech industry feel like something special was just to briefly convince people that these guys weren't the same as it ever was, right? That like all of these tech heads weren't just like, no, they're
sociopaths who could code.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them can't even code. You know, they're just injecting fetal lamb brain. And I wish more of them would do the suicide by sea thing.
Also, what does that mean? Is that a specific way, or just
I think you're like, going out on your yacht to end it all,
jump off or something?
Yeah, let's look up Robert Maxwell. Let's do the research I should have done.
I wonder, or is it like a thing where you wear like a meat suit and then you jump into like shark infested waters and like just let the sea do its thing?
Oh man, this guy looks like shit. Look at this dude. Holy fuck, Sophie, Google Robert Maxwell. What a monster. Oh, this is Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Yes, I have heard of this. Yeah, he dies mysteriously at sea, and there's probably something to do with the Mossad. God. Yeah, this is Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Look at this fucking weirdo.
Oh my God.
Hell yes.
Those eyebrows.
We'll do an episode on this guy at some point. He's dressed like Tucker Carlson, but he looks like if Tucker Carlson melted in the sun. God,
or like
that's funny.
Or him and like John Taffer from Bar Rescue became one guy.
He does have the look of like a fucking Paul Verhoeven, like secondary bad guy. It's so funny. Anyway, let's all think about Ghislaine Maxwell, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Here's ads.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Sink into affordable luxury. Anabe is the only machine washable sofa inside and out. With stain-resistant slip covers and a cloud-like frame duvet, everything goes right in the wash. Plus, the modular design lets you change the look of your space anytime. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your home. Shop up to 60% off site-wide, with sofas starting at just $699 and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
What a terrible looking person, first of all.
Yeah, he does look like shit.
He looks terrible. It looks like
he's wearing his karma on his face.
He looks like when a potato starts to get moldy and sprouts. That's what he looks like.
Yeah. We're back and we're talking about Robert Maxwell. What a weird asshole. So these corporate raiders, these guys who like are Lorenzo's peers, sometimes what they're doing is they're finding lazy, underperforming companies that have like a lot of useless positions and have wasted. It basically coasted during the years when the American economy was like a freebie, right? The rest of the world was destroyed by war, and we just like, you could do anything as a business guy and make money. But that's starting to end by the 70s, right? So some of these guys are just like finding companies that were not set up well and ending inefficiencies. But a lot of them are just like gutting good businesses for short-term gains. A good modern example of this would be what happened to the company that makes Instant Pots. They merged with the maker of Pyrex in 2019, right before a giant sales spurt due to the pandemic. But since that growth wasn't sustainable, like especially since Instant Pots, you don't have to like buy Instant Pots
every year.
Yeah.
Right.
So if corporations functioned in anything that resembled like a rational, healthy manner, this would be fine, right? You'd be like, well, we had that nice year or two where we made a bunch of extra money and now we continue our nice, steady business. But because capitalism has been, particularly because of like the kind of these corporate raider dudes are the guys who run everything now, what they do as soon as there's this big like windfall is they take on a $450 million loan. And they kind of justify this by saying, oh, we got to build new production facilities. We got to pay for R&D on a new product. But that's not what they do. And I'm going to quote from Crane's Chicago Business Newsletter next. That debt refinanced $294 million in existing debt, including $100 million tied to the 2019 acquisition, and helped support a $245 million dividend to shareholders. Yeah. Essentially, none of the debt supported investment in the business. So basically, the good luck of the pandemic year let them con their way into getting $500 million of debt they were never going to be able to pay off, most of which they gave themselves. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like all that shit. Like even we were just talking on Daily Zeitgeist to this guy who talks about like private equity and how, another way they do it is like when they buy these businesses, they'll force these companies they take over to sell all of their property to the private equity firm and then begin leasing it back to them so they can immediately start seeing a profit. And you're like,
that's not really
about,
business. You're just running a con.
Yeah.
Which is
you're sucking it dry from the inside.
Yeah. So back to Frank. He and his business partner have managed to get together the money to buy a Houston-based carrier called Texas International Airlines. A lot of that money comes from Chase Manhattan. Texas International Air is a small, tottering local. It was basically, in terms of its size, it was a local Texas airline. But because it does one flight to Mexico, it's an international, which means it's regulated by CAB, which like fucks it over actually, because they can't do a lot of the shit smaller airlines are able to do to kind of like make a profit. It was nicknamed Teeter Totter Airlines, which is because like it's such a, like the flights are so shitty, right? Like they have trash planes, they have the worst pilots. It's just not great. In the last 5 years, the company had lost $20 million over expanding its fleet and taking on debt. It was a long shot that Lorenzo would be able to right the ship once he bought the company, but Chase Manhattan had faith in him, and he was medically incapable of doubting himself. So there's a shareholders meeting in August of 1972 where Lorenzo gets elected president and CEO of Texas International Air. This makes him the youngest airline president in history. How
old is he?
He's 32.
Wow.
So that is pretty young to be running an airline. Couple other cool things happened that year for him. He gets his pilot's license. He marries this lady who had been like a legal assistant and was the daughter of a wealthy Florida real estate mogul. Also, around the same time, his brother, who had been a stockbroker, dies of heart failure. His brother's like 43, which convinces Frank to become a marathon runner. Tragic. If only he had just continued to be very unhealthy and do cocaine. We need like, you know how they have like campaigns in some vulnerable areas to like have people like, oh, there's a lot of heart disease in this neighborhood or whatever. We should like do these ads trying to keep people away from fast food. We need to have the opposite for like Harvard grads. We're like, you ever tried cocaine? You ever just done like a shitload of coke and mix that stuff with downers too? Like just grind your Valium up with your blow. You're good, man.
The best thing to do is probably smoke like 3 grams of meth and then just take a bunch of benzos, man, to go to sleep.
Yeah, benzo.
You're going to feel like Superman, dude. That's how like Lee Iacocca used to do it, dude. Like if you're trying to get like next level with it, that's how you got to do it, dude.
Yeah.
Split your heart in 2 directions.
We need to pay a new generation of influencers to pitch speedballs at business guys. So, under the rule of the Civil Air Board, truly local airlines are, again, subject to like fewer of these anti-competitive regulations. And so they can do stuff like offer discount last-minute fares. Because TI is in this awkward position, they can't really do that. And they're up against, their big competitors are Southwest, which is a small local airline, and so it's got more room to maneuver, and Braniff. So Lorenzo succeeds in kind of sliding in between these two competitors, and he's able to like pull together some profitability. He's actually pretty good at this aspect of the business. He drops markets that weren't profitable and flights that had a poor return. He fires a bunch of employees in order to cut payroll into something manageable. And in 1973, the year after he takes over, Texas International posts its first profit in like 5 or 6 years. He'd made a lot of big promises to his employees that like once the company was back in the black, he'd ensure that they got rewards for all the hard work they did to get TIA back into good health. But as soon as they start making a profit, he's like, oh no, I didn't mean that. You guys aren't getting any more money. Absolutely not.
I say that? No.
No, that was a lie. See?
You want to get fired for fucking lying?
Yeah.
Okay, then shut up. I would never say some shit like that.
So obviously people are not happy. So the ground workers union, which is like, you know, the guys, it should be obvious what the ground workers union is for planes. They're the guys on the ground doing shit. They start agitating. And in December of 74, they decide to go on strike. So airline workers are at this point some of the most powerful unionized people in the country. And when the airline workers would go on strike, the only kind of way, again, so when you've got a strike, right, a company that's going to engage in strike breaking is probably going to bring in scabs. And scabs, it's understood, always do like a shittier version of the job that regular employees do. And, when it comes to people, like, that's a problem with air travel, right? So if you've got like a coal mine and you bring in scabs, the scabs are going to make you less money. Maybe they're a little more likely to die. But like, if you get a bunch of scabs killed in a coal mine, the coal miners aren't going to have that big an issue with it because they hate the scabs, and no one else is really going to care because it's just shit happening in the coal mine. Whereas if you bring a bunch of scabs in to the air industry and a plane crashes, a lot of people might get angry at you, Oh no. So you have, as a company in this period, you have like less options for kind of fucking over your unionized employees because it's air travel, You also have to.
What's that pool of people? I can only imagine when you're like, all right, now the bottom of the barrel for airline workers,
illegal plane fuelers and shit. Yeah, they're probably not great at the job.
Yeah, I could do that. What did you do
I figure I can fit. Yeah, I filled up my car.
I basically do the thing that's the precursor to stealing catalytic converters in your modern times.
Yeah. So airlines also, if they're fighting a strike, have to contend with the fact that, because running an airline is more expensive than most things, if you're keeping planes grounded and you're like canceling flights, it's like slightly less expensive to do that than it is to just like set fire to piles of money. Like you are burning so much cash whenever you're knocked down by a strike. So for years, the way airlines would handle strike threats is to just pretty much very quickly concede to the union, right? To give them at least some of what they wanted and get folks back to work. It was nearly always worth it. But Frank Lorenzo hates unions. And he's like, why the fuck are we going to concede to these motherfuckers? Fuck them. So depending on who you ask, he's either kind of just too proud, right? Like he'll burn his airline to the ground rather than lose face to a bunch of strikers, or he's like a calculated risk taker. And he's like, doing the math and figuring out, we can hold out this much longer. And, these workers can only hold out this long. And this is like I'm not really sure which version of Frank Lorenzo is more accurate. Probably a little bit of A and a little bit of B.
Right.
So for 4.5 months after the ground workers union votes to strike, no TI plane flies. They shut down traffic entirely. He furloughs the entire workforce pretty much. Executive salaries are cut to the bone. And eventually, through this grinding battle of attrition, he manages to pull out a victory. And the only reason Frank is able to survive is that when the other airlines see him actually going to war with like one of his big unions, they put together $11 million in strike aid. Like other airlines are giving him money to be like, here you go, buddy. Like keep up the good fight. Right?
Yeah. Fuck them over. Yeah. Unions do the same thing, right? Like it's just this is like an owner's union, right? It's so good fucking grim, man.
It is.
We love what you're doing, man. Just vaporize their fucking will to
fuck these guys. We've got you. It's pretty cool. Like, so the union comes to the table and it ends the strike with very minor concessions from TI. And Lorenzo is now a hero of the capitalist class. He is not only this kind of like daring corporate raider type guy who'd brought his company to profitability by cutting it to the bone, but when his selfish workers put his success at risk, he had like gone to war with them and won. In an interview he gave not long after the settlement, he told a reporter, "The Ground Workers Union has demonstrated little concern for the well-being of any of us, for that of any of our cities, and of course for the company, which must somehow pay the bill." By 1976, TI was making more than $3 million in net profits. It was now healthier than ever, but still too small for Lorenzo's liking. He knew that he was going to need to introduce a major innovation to make his company stand out from the pack. Here's how Texas Monthly describes what happened next. If TI was to survive, Lorenzo had to find a way to beat Southwest's low fares. Prohibited from discounting regular fares, TI had experimented with reductions on largely unregulated standby tickets. The airline had, for instance, promoted a new route from Houston's Hobby Field to Dallas-Fort Worth Airfield by offering standby fares keyed to the day of the month. $1 for travel on August 1st, $6 for travel on August 6th, and so on. Searching for a steady way to fill those empty seats, the company came up with peanut fares, in which the passengers could lock into cheap fares on certain flights with light passenger loads. This is the birth of the modern system we have of like, oh, you got the super saver seats and you've got like the extra economy and you've got the economy plus this is where that all begins.
This is so triggering to like airport misery. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, this is like the start of a lot of that. And it's a mixed bag, right? Like, this is a good idea. It works really well financially. It's also more efficient, but it's against cab regulations. And so Lorenzo has to lobby the agency to make his peanut fares legal. And he succeeds. In January 1977, TI gets granted a 1-year trial to like attempt to do these new kinds of fares. And it works really well. Like, TI passenger loads on a lot of flights go from like 30 or 40% to 90% or more.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like Braniff starts complaining because this starts eating into their business, and they're like, TI's advertising, that all of their seats are discounted, and they aren't. And the agency, like, there's some minor ruling against Lorenzo, but it doesn't actually stop him from like basically doing this shit.
Right.
And the idea, as soon as like he introduces these new kinds of like discounted fares and gets away with it, it starts spreading like wildfire throughout the rest of the industry. And I'll say this, what Frank does here is more of a mixed bag than we tend to get with our like corporate bastards. There's a decent argument that Frank's innovation here, it leads to a huge drop in pricing for consumers across the market, and that this is a big part of what opens air travel up to groups of people who would never have been able to afford to fly recreationally. Like, frequent flyers hate this because the only people who can afford to be frequent flyers in this period are either independently wealthy or they're corporate flyers whose companies are paying for the expensive seats. And they love that the planes are empty and nice. But like,
and now the barbarian hordes are fucking there.
Yeah, exactly. The poor have taken to the skies. You could also argue that like, well, this is a lot less wasteful and shitty for the environment than flying in planes that are 70% empty. Obviously, the fact that this causes air travel to explode has a net horrible increase on like, carbon emissions and shit. I don't think you can really morally put that on Frank because I don't think he knows much about that. Like, he's not like anything, an Exxon exec. He doesn't
but any technology, it becomes inevitable. Like, it's ubiquity, right? Like, it was always going to get cheaper and eventually would get to a place where other people could fly.
Yeah. So at the same time he's doing this, a national movement has kind of coalesced around the idea of deregulating airlines. As I mentioned earlier, the business of big-time air travel was deliberately not a competitive industry in the U.S., in the same way, at least, that most businesses were competitive. The sheer expense and the fact that these companies received government subsidies, had allowed kind of air travel to get off the ground. But now that we're in kind of the 70s and stuff, the late 70s in particular, a lot of these old airlines are kind of hemorrhaging money. And this makes a pretty good case that deregulation is necessary. The cause was opposed actually by the business, a lot of the guys that Frank considered peers. And it was also generally opposed from owners of airlines because they're like, well, there's shit that's fucked up about the business, but we understand it the way it is. And if you like deregulate, then we're going to have a bunch of competition and a lot of our airlines are going to die. If we won't be getting subsidies and shit, we're not going to be able to make this stuff work. But this kind of alliance of free market right-wing economists and liberal Democrats get together and agree on deregulating the air. And like, Democrats like it because cheap flights will be good for the economy and like it'll open up air travel to working people. And the free market guys like it because that's what they fucking do. And I'm going to quote from a contemporary article in the New York Times here, writing about deregulation of the air. Equally compelling was the sense of inanity associated with so many empty seats. In 1973, airplanes were flying from New York to Los Angeles with 37% of their seats filled, says Stephen Breyer, then a lawyer on Kennedy's staff and now a federal judge. This assured the business flyer of an empty seat on which to place his briefcase. But look at how high the fare had to be in order to make this possible. What was really going on was that the briefcase was paying full fare. The expense account set, many of them Republican businessmen who might otherwise have found government economic controls anathema, loved federal airline regulation. Service was attentive, delays were rare, planes and airports were uncrowded. So what if fares were high? The company picked up the tab. An unusual coalition of free market economists and liberal Democrats fought to loosen the reins on airlines. As Breyer puts it, the outcome was going to favor the typical middle-class individual. It would be very different from the subsequent deregulation of the telephone service, he says, in which the outcome favored business customers at the expense of the residential customer. Despite practically unanimous opposition from airline executives, deregulation was signed into law by President Jimmy Carter in 1978. Yeah. Now, this is not going to entirely work the way they want it to, right?
No.
There's as we all know, as we're all living through, but it does make air travel a lot cheaper initially.
Right.
Now we'll talk later about kind of where things go from there, but it does to some extent work the way they want it to. So Frank Lorenzo was initially frightened by deregulation because he doesn't know how this is going to work. But once it becomes clear that this is happening, he starts looking for ways to make it work for him. A lot of guys are doing that at the time, and one of them is a dude called Donald Burr. He's the founder of People's Express, which is like one of the first big budget airlines. You might think of it as like Spirit or Frontier. And the big thing for People's Express is that it's a no-frills airline. There's no luxury at all, and every seat on the plane has the same low cost point, right? And his plan is it's this weird hybrid of shit because Burr is like, we're going to keep costs low by cutting out luxuries and also not using union labor, but also, in order to kind of compensate for that, Burr is like, all of our employees will get stock in the company. That's why it's People's Express. Like everyone like owns a part of the company. It's an interesting vision. You don't really have stuff like this that much anymore.
Was it like, so it was legitimately like worker owned airline?
To an extent.
Or like they had like 48% of it.
Yeah,
like,
they're not going to actually be in control. And this doesn't work out in the long run, although this does, I think, become Frontier. Like that is kind of where it but anyway, whatever. That's the idea that Burr has. Yeah. Now, Lorenzo sees this plan by Burr as fundamentally flawed. First, fuck giving workers stock. But more to the point, he knows that rich people are always going to want to pay more for a nice flying experience. And Lorenzo's like, you know what? It might actually be worth even more to rich people to pay for a nice flight if they get to watch columns of poor people file past and cram themselves into like a cattle pen, right? Like we might actually be able to make more money on rich people if they get to see poor people having a worse time.
We reinforce the class structure.
Yeah, that's going to make these folks thrilled. Here's the New York Times. The wave of the future, Lorenzo insisted, was a flexible pricing system with a wide variety of fares and services tailored to different tastes and pocketbooks. Such a system, enforced today, with some passengers paying $500 seated next to others paying $150, makes it possible to extract a premium from the business flyer while simultaneously offering bargains that entice the discretionary traveler. In Lorenzo's terms, it creates travel. In 1980, Burr left Texas International to start People Express, taking with him Gerald L. Gittner, the marketing vice president, and several other executives. That same year, Lorenzo established Texas Air as a holding company for Texas International, a symbol of his expansive intentions. And expand he did. His first move was the creation of a low-fare carrier, New York Air. Lorenzo initially set about wooing business flyers in the Boston, New York, Washington shuttle market monopolized by Eastern Airlines. New York Air usually charged less than Eastern, but offered more in the way of reserved seats, snacks and beverages, and enthusiastic service. The non-union employees earned less than their counterparts at other airlines. So, like, you know, he's doing this mix of cutting shit to the bone and making sure there's special options for people who are willing to like pay bank so that rich people can like, you know, have a reason to be on flights too. And this winds up being a lot smarter than like this kind of like weirdly sort of communist plan that Burr is pushing where everyone has the same seat. And, you know, it's just, it's more financially successful. So, you know, as this is all going on, the 70s are drawing to a close. The Reagan 80s are starting up. Everything's coming up Frank Lorenzo. Unions are taking hits left and right. He's making more money than ever. Cocaine is flowing like wine, and it was time for another bold move. He was going to take over the grand dam of the sky, Continental Airlines. Like, and Continental is back in the day. So today, United Airlines uses their like logo and livery, right? Continental back in the day is like when you see like pictures of really nice flights, it's often Continental. They are the fucking Gucci airline. Like this is the nice shit, right? This is Robert Six's airline. Yeah, it is like the fanciest airline out there, but it's hemorrhaging money. And fucking Frank Lorenzo is like, I'm going to buy this motherfucker and I'm going to gut it.
Oh.
And we are going to talk about that and how he kind of kills a lot of aspects of the way unions had worked and the labor had successfully like fought for shit. Like he goes to war with these people and it's a pretty nuts experience. But that's all in part 2. For right now, what I want to talk about, Miles, is your fucking pluggables. How are they doing?
Oh, they're good. You can plug them in. You can unplug them. Check out the Daily Zeitgeist or 420 Day Fiance or Miles and Check Out Mad Boosties. That's trash TV, basketball, and daily news, whichever one you want.
Hell yeah. So there you go. And you can also get this podcast without ads at Cooler Zone Media. If you mail Sophie, I don't know, money, probably.
Yeah.
This is
$15
true.
or something.
And we at Cool Zone Media have a new show with Jake Hanrahan. It's called Sad Oligarch. It's fantastic on all the apps, including Cooler Zone Media.
Yeah, where you'll get it without ads, so you won't have to hear about the Reagan coin, which fits in well with today's topic.
It really does. And that's the motherfucking episode. Behind the Bastards is a production of Cool Zone Media. For more from Cool Zone Media, visit our website, coolzonemedia.com, or check us out on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabe Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anabe brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabe is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquid simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off, plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
You're listening to a podcast, so you're doing something else too, like maybe scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving places you like without thinking you'll get them, because that's what house hunting has become. But Redfin isn't built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, which means when you find a place you love, you've got a real shot at getting it. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
This is Angela Yee from Way Up with Angela Yee. Y'all, Black Girl Vitamins is completely changing the wellness game for us. You know our bodies don't move the same as we get older, and health becomes even more important. BGV, Black Girl Vitamins, is giving us all the supplements we need to stay healthy. I've seen hundreds of ladies online raving about their tasteless collagen powder that made their joint pain practically disappear. I had to try it myself, and y'all, it is the truth. If your body needs help bouncing back, go ahead and check their products out on blackgirlvitamins.co and get 20% off using code Angela Yee.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.